Hi, I am Jessica Craig and I'm going to show you how to make strawberry chamomile cupcakes. We have 3 cups of AP flour, which I actually have measured right here. Alright, so we're going to take that and put that right into our mixing bowl. So as you can see, I have a KitchenAid mixer to do this whole thing with. And if for whatever reason you don't have a KitchenAid mixer, you can also use a hand beater. A hand beater works just as well for doing a recipe like this. However, I would not recommend doing it by hand, and you'll see why in a second. So now I'm gonna put in the sugar, which it's 1.5 cups of that. Put that in the bowl. All right, and next we have our baking powder, baking soda, salt, and chamomile. Now, this probably looks like a lot of chamomile, but keep in mind that chamomile has a very delicate flavor. It's an edible flower. Believe it or not, a lot of flowers are edible, and it's going to lend like such a beautiful flavor to this cupcake. I'm very excited about it. All right, put that right in. And then last but not least, we have our cubed butter. All right, so I'm gonna put that in, and just make sure that your butter, I'm just gonna grab a spatula. Make sure that your butter is at room temperature so that it mixes well into your cupcake batter here. All right, and I'm just gonna scrape that, get all that delicious goodness in there. Beautiful. All right, I'm gonna lock this into position and I'm gonna turn this on. Ooh. Very important to make sure that your bowl is in place properly. And now we'll turn this back on again. So we're gonna mix this on low, and what we're looking for is for the butter to break down into small little pea sizes, very similar to when you're making biscuits, okay? So you don't want to leave this going for too long. And it looks like it's pretty close. It's getting there. Just going to shut this off for a second. And I'm just going to check to see if this is how I want it. Now, if you look closely, I have like butter chunks that are pretty big. I want it to be smaller than that, so I'm actually gonna make this mix for a little bit more. All right. And I can smell the chamomile coming from the dry mix, and it smells really, really good. I think this is good, and I just want to show you what we're looking for. So now you see your butter has breaking down, and maybe they're a little bit smaller than pea size. You can see that. All right, you got your lovely butter chunks in there. So once you have that, I have my cup of milk, okay? And now I'm gonna add 3 eggs to this cup. Just slide this back, give me some space. Just want to break the yolk, mix the egg in with the milk a little bit so it's not separated. So first, what we're gonna do is we're going to add half of this mixture to this. And then we're gonna mix it on high speed for about 2 to 3 minutes, all right? So, and you don't have to measure it perfectly. Let's say that's about half. So now it's coming together. Now I have it on medium speed. This is a very uncontextual way to make a cake. However, it makes a very beautiful mixture when you have a bit of a high fat ratio. Because you see the butter that we added in. Now we have our eggs, and the egg yolks also add a certain level of fat. Then you have your milk, and that has a fat in it. And we're also giving the batter a chance to build a little bit of structure. So I'm gonna let this mix a little bit more. Okay. So while on low speed, I'm actually going to add half of this. So essentially it's going to be a quarter of the whole. So I'm going to kind of eyeball about half this amount, okay? So let's say that's about half. And we're going to give this a good stir again about medium speed, between 4 and 6. If you have a KitchenAid, if you're using a hand blender, again, you want to use like a medium speed. And I'm actually going to just scrape down the sides a little bit because we want to make sure that all this goodness is getting mixed in, because you'll notice the sides are going to be a little bit more stiff because that hasn't mixed in with the extra milk and egg mixture that we have added in. So we just want to make sure that all gets mixed in together. Scrape down those sides really well, and also make sure you scrape the bottom really well. This batter's looking beautiful so far. Cool. Get that mixing again. Medium speed. And we're not going to do it quite as long this time, for like not even a minute. Alright? So it's looking smooth and beautiful. So we're going to add the last bit of liquid in here. Okay. Cool. And again, we're not going to mix it, the last leg, for that long. Voila. Look at how smooth and beautiful that is. Of diced strawberries. So now I'm going to show you the dice that I have is pretty small. You want to dice it so that it's small enough as if like you're making a salsa. I would say that these pieces are like 1/4 of an inch. So you want to cut slices out of your strawberries and then cut those slices into strips and then cut that. All right, and then you'll get your cubes to be folded into your strawberry cupcake. All right, I'm gonna fold that into the batter here. It smells so yummy. I can smell chamomile. I can smell strawberry. All right, so now I have my cupcake pans all set up with some cupcake papers. Now I don't have a portion scooper with me, which is fine. Instead, we're just gonna use a spoon. And you want for each cup to be filled about 3/4 of the way. Okay, so just going to use your spoon, and you just want to divide it as evenly as you can. Cool. Alright, so this is what it should look like. And I'm gonna get this in the oven and I'll show you how to make the buttercream. I have the sugar and the egg white in my bowl. And what I'm gonna do is heat it up over a double boiler, which all that means is that I don't want to put this in a pot to heat it up. I'm heating it up with indirect heat from the steam here because we don't want scrambled sweet egg whites. Is essentially why we're doing it this way. So I'm gonna put this on top of my simmering pot, and I'm gonna take a whisk and I'm just gonna keep whisking it until the sugar dissolves and then the mixture gets hot to the touch. So this is the cupcakes all done and cooling so that once this buttercream is made, we can frost them and decorate them, which will be fun. All right, so this is also beginning to get a little fluffy, which I'll show you, turn this off, what that looks like. So this is nice and dissolved. There's no sugar granules. And you'll also see that the egg whites are beginning to get fluffy, which means they're beginning to get in the direction where I want them. So I'm just gonna take this whisk, put it to the side, and then I'm gonna put this on, and I actually, give me 1 second, get the whisk for this. All right, and we're gonna let it go full speed. You see all the steam coming up. So this is gonna go for a while. It's probably gonna go for a solid few minutes. Back, and our meringue is actually looking beautiful. I'm just gonna show it to you real quick because it is shiny, glossy. This is probably what yours should look like, and I whipped it pretty stiff. And now that the meringue is formed and the bowl is feeling like warm, you know, closer to room temperature where it's not like piping hot, we are going to get this whipping and then start adding our butter a bit at a time. So this buttercream is probably just enough to cover all these cupcakes. And you could take a knife and cube your butter if you want to, but for me, I don't mind getting my hands a little messy. So what I'm gonna do is just take my fingers and just pinch off a little bit of butter at a time. This butter is actually at room temperature and it's perfect for this. So I'm actually going to get this going. So I have it on high speed. And I'm just using my fingers to pinch off and also make sure that the butter's nice and soft. And I'm just going to keep doing that. Until all the butter is added in. You just want to make sure that your butter is melting and is whipping into your mixture properly, which is why you want it slightly warm, not like a cold meringue. And also why you want your butter at room temperature. So it's nice and soft. And your meringue can absorb it. First of all, wipe my hands because they're getting a little messy. Second of all, I'm going to add the salt and the vanilla. So I have my measuring spoons here, and the recipe calls for 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I honestly like to put salt in just about everything because salt helps to round out the flavor. And it also helps to pull flavors out, even in pastry. Because if you only have sugar, you only have one note, right? It's almost like composing a song. You need different notes to make a song sound kind of interesting, right? So when you only have sweet, and you don't have anything to combat that, whether it be salt or sour, even bitter sometimes can help complement the flavors that you're trying to go for. So whenever I make a pastry, I always add a pinch of salt to what it is I'm doing. And it also calls for a teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm also going to put in my vanilla. Smells so good. Cool. Now I'm just going to whip that up some more. Last but not least, we're going to decorate our cupcakes. So I have a piping bag. If you don't have a piping bag, you know what really works really well is taking a Ziploc bag and cutting the corner of it and using that as a piping bag. I so happen to have a few, so I cut the tip off. I also have a piping tip, and again, you don't have to use a tip. You can just use, you know, whatever you have. You can even use an offset spatula and put the frosting on that way. So what I'm going to do is put some frosting in the bag, and I'm going to give you an idea as to how you can decorate this. So do is just swirl some frosting on. So as you can see, I'm starting from the center, getting around to the edge, and then I'm gonna do another layer of that, and then maybe small little dollop on top. Or, you know, it's your creation. Do what you wanna. That's what I say. You can also start from the outer edge and work your way in. so that it looks like tower frosting. So what I'm gonna do is take a strawberry and just cut it in half very carefully. Make sure you're not cutting your fingers. All right, could just simply stick a half strawberry on there. You can also fan a strawberry, which I personally love to do. So you can take a knife and your strawberry and just make slice cuts into it, almost to the stem. This is an old chef trick. And then what you're gonna do is use your fingers to make a little fan. How fun is that? Okay, and then we can take a little bit of the ground chamomile, which I forgot to note. I sincerely apologize. So when it comes to chamomile, you're gonna end up buying it in a tea bag, yeah? So in the tea bag, most of the time, look how pretty that is. Most of the time your chamomile is going to be already ground. So you don't have to worry about grounding your chamomile. However, when you go into your tea bag and if for any reason there's whole flowers in there and it's not ground, all you have to do is take your flowers and put it on a cutting board and chop it up. And then you'll get nice small pieces just like that so that you can decorate with and also bake with and all that. All right, so these are 2 different ways that you can decorate your cupcake. Or maybe there's another way that you think of that looks like it's lots of fun. So there you have it. These are the strawberry chamomile cupcakes, and I hope you enjoy them. It's been fun baking with you. Thank you for having me. See you soon.